Thank you guys so much for that introduction. I'm happy to be here with you today to talk with you about one of my favorite subjects, which is the coronavirus, fundraising. What are we doing for 2020 and 2021? So happy that you're here with us today. We're going to be talking about, so you've had to cancel your fundraising event, now what? As you heard, my name's Nicole Stirk. I am happy to serve here at SICSA Pet Adoption and Wellness Center, and I'm the Resource Innovation Director, and I get to do and be a part of all of our wonderful events and our donors and our relationships with our community. It's a true honor. So a little bit about our journey. So 2020 started off as any other year should and would, with our typical conversation about our fundraisers. So a little background, here at SICSA, we do 2 annual fundraisers, one in addition to other smaller events throughout the year, but our 2 main events that we do every year is Lift Your Leg and the Cat's Meow. So the Lift the Leg event is a 5K, 10K fun run. It's always done in the summer, and our Cat's Meow is more the try and true cocktail party and auction, and that's typically done in the fall. So a little event history. Lift Your Leg, we've done it for 9 years. It began in 2011. It's just the typical in-person fun run. We get folks from all around our community. It typically averages about 800 people and their pets, and we hold it at a local high school. So Lift Your Leg was scheduled for Saturday, June 6th this year. And as of Friday, March 27th, we were still planning to have that in-person event. And then, as we all know, everything changed when the coronavirus took over a bit when it comes to our plans, and we had to pivot. So just to give you a little timeline, and let me just first start off by saying, you may not have a 5K or a race that you guys necessarily do, but whatever the event, whatever the thing that you were planning to do, we stopped and had a conversation. We shifted the entire event, and in 6 weeks' time, we were able to pull off something pretty great. It wasn't what we expected, but it's better than nothing. So I just want to give you guys hope. I want to give you guys encouragement, and I hope that throughout this presentation, that's what you hear. And of course, we can answer questions. I'm happy to do so at the conclusion of our time. So just a little quick overview of our timeline. On March 30th, we decided to move to a virtual event. We had our first brainstorming meeting, and then from there was our draft 1 of how we're going to redesign this event. We started the event on May the 9th, and we ended the event on June 6th. So you'll say, hey, Nicole, that doesn't quite make sense. If it's a run or a 5K, how can it technically be 4 weeks long? I will tell you more about that coming up. So in 6 weeks' time, we were able to shift, pivot, and come up with something new, and I'm happy to share a little bit about that with you guys today. So the biggest changes we faced was a typical event, a run. We were in person. It was 1 day. It was very labor intensive, very time intensive, but it was this 1 day in-person event. We had volunteer time set up. We were really tied to whoever would be willing to drive or come to a physical event here in Dayton, Ohio. And our sponsorship amenities were consistent year after year. So with this new event, we decided to make it a 4-week-long online-based event, allowing people to participate through a 4-week-long different experiences we created, and also pulling people that necessarily wouldn't have signed up for an actual run, a tried and true run. It was a nice bonus by going virtual that we were able to open up geographically, as this event is a perfect example of. People can sign in and log in and be a part of an event even if they don't physically live nearby where the event is taking place. And sponsorships, we had to redo some amenities. Obviously, amenities changed drastically with what we had promised sponsors for this event. So I'll go into that in just a bit. So first of all, like I mentioned before, just take a breath, stop, and think about what you guys can commit to. If you're really facing these challenges, sit down and say, we're not going to not do anything. We're going to do something. What can we do? What's realistic, but what's something that we can really get people behind? Determine what the impact will be for sponsors, especially if you have annual sponsors or sponsors who've already pre-committed, and make sure you're talking with them prior to the event, obviously making sure that they're willing to continue their sponsorship, that the amenities meet the agreements of what you've made, and talk with them. Maybe they have some really good suggestions on how you can adapt some of the amenities as well. Determine what platforms you're going to use. Obviously virtual, there's a dime a dozen of softwares that you can use. Facebook's obviously a huge win, especially for nonprofits. You know, you're not really spending a lot of money for those resources. There's other different production video softwares. I'll talk to you a little bit about one we use, as well as if you're doing bidding platforms, event sign-up forms, MailChimps, those sort of things. And you're gonna have to reestablish your budget, hopefully without much of a hit or an impact. So for the Lift Your Leg event, we primarily used Facebook. We actually created a Facebook group instead of a Facebook event. Events only allowed us to do a one-day versus the group, which allowed us to build sort of this platform for people to hang out. We thought this was really good for us to create basically a sub-community. Right now with coronavirus, this was right, you know, June, it was really when people were feeling the brunt end of the isolation. To have this landing page, we created almost a sense of community and a club where people were able to send pictures, encourage each other, and build friendships. So this is the landing page screenshot of that Facebook group. We also use Run Sign Up, which is a run software where you can register, and you'll see here the description of the different weeks, what we included each week, and what the focus of the week was. You'll also see in bold letters here, it says that the registration for the first ever virtual Lift Your Leg event is free. That was something we felt like morally was the right choice to make. Not knowing the outcome, especially as this was brand new for us at SICSA. And so I'll tell you a little bit about how that transpired, but we were able to really get really good interaction and engagement and donations in spite of it being free. So why 4 weeks? Well, when you're shifting an event in 6 weeks, we knew that we had to shift the mindset and expectations of people. I mean, we had an event, this is the 9th year we've done it. So we wanted to build exposure, increase participation. And knowing that it was virtual, knowing that we could reach more people in different areas, we wanted to say, how can we engage even more people? Not just geographically, but what about people who really don't run? Can we get people that just want to participate and learn about SICSA, do some fundraising within this? So we did a 4-week breakout. Week 1 was a warm-up week. We had challenges for people that are runners. We also had challenges for people that aren't runners, just to get them engaged. We did different activities. You'll see here the rest of the 4 weeks with the different themes. And then we were going to host this post-event party. We thought, hey, maybe by the end of this, it'll be better. It ended up not being, but we were able to give people some VIP tours and more one-on-one interactions, which was also very beneficial. So we had major sponsors and minor sponsors of the event that was based upon their monetary gift to the event. And so what we did, and you're going to get these tools as well. I feel like it's pretty easy, nothing super complex. This is just Excel, but it is a tool that we developed that helped us keep all of this on track. I hope that it's a resource and a tool for you guys to use as well. But we did a 2-week pre-event social media plan. This is where we were trying to build excitement before we launched these 4 weeks of the event. So this is an example of that. You'll see here week 1 and week 2, and sort of the countdown to the race, right? So we did really intentional social media marketing on 3 days left, 2 days left, 1 day left, today's the day, and to encourage people to register this whole time. Here's an overview of the sponsorship to the week challenge template. Also, you'll get all of these, like I said. So we had the major featured sponsors, we had minor sponsors. What we really did differently, everybody, you know, when you say a major sponsor for a minor sponsor and you're talking about a website, for example, say you're putting their logos on your website, whether they're big or small, the same number of eyes are going to see that. It's harder to engage and know really were they on the website for that sponsor, or were they just landing on that page because they wanted to register. So what we did to really differentiate sponsors being dominant versus minor was we featured the featured sponsors by asking them to do a weekly challenge video introduction, which we played at the beginning of the week. And it was a chance for the sponsor to introduce themselves, show their partnership with us. And it also allowed us to engage in interactions and reactions specifically with their post, with their video, with their business. And so we were able to pull specific metrics which were really impactful and meaningful for them. So this is an example of that. So feel free to use this if this is helpful for you in organizing your sponsors with what you're really assigning them, and especially when you have to do it differently. And lastly, you're going to see here, this was an example of our social media plan for those 4 weeks. And so we really focused, when we have other events, other things that we focus our marketing on here at SICSA. So we didn't want to flood the main SICSA page. So every day we were posting content, questions, challenges on the Facebook group. But then 3 days a week, which we picked Saturday, Tuesday, and Friday, we would tag or cross connect, basically connect them by tagging the main SICSA Facebook page that would then be brought to the 36,000 people who follow our Facebook page. So we didn't want to oversaturate, but we thought these 3 days of the week really allowed us to tap into that larger network. So a little overview. Surprisingly to us, every sponsor that was committed to this event remained a sponsor of this event, even with us saying to them, we have to do things differently. We hope we can continue on your support, because we also showed them that we were going to actually exceed what their sponsorship amenity package was, and we were able to deliver on that. And how we can deliver on that, and if you're also in this situation where you're doing sponsorships and you're questioning the value of them. For example, if the event was in person like it had always been, we had those 800 people that were at that event. We did a program. We've done other things with that as far as, signs at the physical event. With it being online and the vast reach that social media can have, sponsorship amenities well exceeded over 800 views, impressions, connections, reactions, and interactions. And so you're actually able to hopefully show additional value. We didn't charge them anymore, but we wanted them to, so we basically said, thank you for your continued support. We're going to honor your amenities. We'll make sure that we honor that. And so you actually can not upsell it, but you're able to say, you're going to get even more for your dollar than what you previously were going to. We also, because of that, and the reason we can enforce that is we had 1 month of marketing exposure versus that 1 day. Here's an example of that major sponsor video. So Kunal Patel is actually a board member, but he's also his business. He's a real estate agent locally here in Dayton, Ohio, and his real estate agency is a sponsor of SICSA. So he did a video introducing the week and talking about the challenges and the different activities one can take. And we had 3,684 people reach this with this video, with 1,119 unique views. So, and this is really great. And it actually shows women between 55 and 64 were actually, a target demographic. And he actually likes to know this information, helps him with marketing his real estate agency as well. So just a screenshot of that for you guys to see what that looks like. And with amenities, I kind of mentioned this earlier, logo placements, some of them were not easy to transfer. We used to do a flyer, like a brochure program, true program, but we didn't have that this year. But we were able to do electronic flyers, graphics, and banners that would have been in person were shifted to weekly Facebook graphic banners. We also had a t-shirt at the event. We also sold t-shirts this year as well. We thought that was, people like to sign up for races because they like their shirts. And so by having the shirts, we were able to deliver those. People came and picked them up. They were still a part of that. It went by really well. And also, like I'd mentioned, we had 800 in-person participants. This year we had 716 virtual participants, plus additional people that just happened to come across the page here and there over those 4 weeks. So in theory, we had about the same group of people, a core group of people that were involved in this year's event. Here's an example of a sponsorship adjustment that we did for Think Patented. So Think Patented, they were the ones that printed our programs in years past. And they really wanted to have some version of their advertisement because they always had their advertisement in that program. So instead of doing the program, we said, why don't we create with your logo an ad that we would put specifically on our Facebook page, thanking you as a sponsor of this event, as you would have had in the program should we have had one. And they were like, that's great, we love that. And if you see here, we reached 2,500 people versus 800. So it just keeps going, it compounds. I think that goes without saying that social media allows us to reach people that a physical event necessarily may not. We did things throughout the weeks to engage people. I threw a couple pictures here so you can see. We really encourage people just to get out of their home and be safe, socially distanced, but get out and walk your neighborhood. So we created this bingo card. It was a huge hit, scavenger hunt. We gave away weekly prizes. We said, hey, invite your friends to join this Facebook group. And if you get 50 of your friends to join, we will give you a free shirt. So people were kind of getting excited, tagging each other, trying to get people to get their friends involved. And it was really a lot of fun. So I wanted to give you a couple of screenshots. We had a lot of people who truly are runners. So Julie, she did her 10K and she recorded it, took pictures of it, tagged it, flagged it, shared it. We were able to cheer Julie on in her race. She also basically was in there encouraging other people too, which was really neat too. And you also have some folks like Stacy who they really weren't runners, but they got out and did their walk. They walked 6 miles. One of them ran and one of them walked. I think they ended up flagging that back to us, but with their coffees and their dog, so just getting out, walking, being healthy, getting outside of the walls. Cindy is a perfect example. She is not a runner. She's actually on our committee, and she's like, I just like the people coming together. I like seeing the different pups. So she really had a fun time with the scavenger hunt cards. And you could do that with anything in their neighborhood. I mean, we picked stuff like stop signs and butterflies, and it was just a big blast just watching people get connect for all four corners and coveralls and everything. So it's kind of fun. We also did a sports trivia day just to encourage people on the social media platform and get really cute pictures of dogs wearing Buckeye stuff because, I mean, absolutely, we're in Ohio, so Buckeyes are a big deal for us. So some fundraising, I mentioned earlier, we had continued support. We were very blessed with that. We also did weekly donations challenges. So in those videos, ones that you saw earlier, that screenshot of Kanal, they would challenge that week for people to make fundraising donations, and we utilize their sponsorship as matching gifts. So a portion of their sponsorship was used for match, and that really encouraged people to make a donation because we waived the fee of the traditional race. T-shirt sales also were part of fundraising. We also did a thing called Do the Distance, so kind of throwing it to the athlete, is it Rocky, I want to say, but the funding plea of saying, if you donate this amount, this is what this impact has on the life of an animal here in our care. We also had challenges of fundraising teams and individual fundraisers who could raise the most and giving prizes to those folks as well. Here's an example of the Do the Distance. So you see here $10 will provide milk replacement for a kitten who's lost their mother, $25. So people say, oh, I really can only give $5 or $10. You want to encourage every person, every level of gift to feel and know the impact of their gift. And so, or you could do the distance, right? And do all four for $160. So this was really powerful. This was a really great way to incorporate and get people to be involved in making gifts towards this event. So unanticipated support. We had what we have called, Carly is her name, the unexpected influencer. This is someone that we never had heard of here at SICSA. Does not have a giving history, doesn't show up in any of our fundraising donor list, but they were very involved. They were posting pictures, they were engaging with people. We had so many people that now are volunteers at SICSA or are fosters here at SICSA. And when you have a hard time finding content to post and you have other people, it's native marketing to the corest, truest sense. It's other people promoting yourself and being brand ambassadors for you. We had a fundraiser. Once again, no clue who this person was. They were the highest individual team fundraiser for the event. So we reached out to them and said, tell us, who are you? Why are you supporting SICSA? And that person made a video that we were then able to put on social media as well. So just think creatively of how you can continue to basically be an amplifier, a megaphone to those people that are cheering you on. What was hard? There was a lot of stuff that's hard. Building the social media plan was not easy. We did it quickly, and we're trying to promote an event that we're creating as we go. The committee members' role in Mindship, this was really hard. I mean, you're kind of having to force the committee to grieve an event that they love, that they're passionate about. Most of the people that were on this committee had been a committee member for all 9 years. And so, and some of them really loved that physical run, you know, the actual start and finish line, the camaraderie. And it was just a hard time outside of the event dealing with isolation, but saying, hey, we have to do this online for health and safety was really tough. And with that came skill sets. I mean, you know why you create a committee, right? You can create committees because there's people that are passionate, that have skill sets that you need specific for that event. When we shifted this event, some of the committee members were just not very comfortable with social media. So we had to find other ways for them to feel involved, that they could support, you know, whether that's handing out the t-shirts, gathering t-shirt orders, doing those sort of things. Some of them are really, you know, like, hey, I don't have time to be there or hand out shirts, but I can send stuff on social media. I can, you know, like what Cindy did with her, I'll post pictures of me with the challenge cards and things. And so just utilizing those skill sets, it was definitely a mind shift. The other hard part was really getting sponsors involved. We were really fortunate, you know, we have relationships, strong relationships with our sponsors. So I was able to reach out and get 4 of them to do those weekly challenge videos. Beyond that, it was really difficult because a lot of them are business owners themselves. And we had to be mindful of and sensitive to the fact that their businesses were turned upside down due to COVID, as ours was as well. So it is hard to get sponsors as involved as we typically had seen in years past. And fundraising was a challenge. We did not raise all of the funds that we were anticipating to run because the $35 registration fees were waived. Some folks, though, in a majority of cases, actually made donations larger than $35 to us. So there was a lot of people who really rallied behind SICSA to support this event and us in spite of waiving those fees. So you want to know, how did it all turn out? We had 715 members on that Facebook group page. Over 200 people signed up on our run sign up software to actually compete or log their times for runs. And we also had representation of 4 different countries, which was incredible. And not just that, 10 major cities in Ohio. And if you're familiar with Ohio, you have Dayton, you have Columbus and Cincinnati, and basically all of these cities fall within that Southwest, Central Ohio region. We had 4,600 posts, comments, reactions, shares on that Facebook page, and we got a lot of media release, or a couple of media releases, and also a few press releases that spotlighted this event. So we really felt really pleased with the outcome. And so budgetarily speaking, we hit about 62% of our original budget, and that was raised by 178 donors, of which most of them are new to us. So that also is a, that's a catalyst for additional donors, additional volunteers, additional supporters of SICSA. So we were able to engage a whole new group of people, and we built in anticipation for 2021, which is our 10th annual event. So we're gonna, have some fanfare. It could be a virtual event next year. We really don't know what summer next year will look like, but I will tell you, we had to anticipate what this fall looked like. And so I'll continue a little bit here before we go into our fall event, which we just had. So what did we learn? We learned that it is worth doing something and not simply just being okay with doing nothing. And I want to encourage, you guys should too. Consider who's on your committee, what skill sets you may need to pull from more or supplement. you want to be flexible and willing to make adjustments. It's okay. For example, initially we thought we were going to do this Facebook event. We were going to have a one-day event, and we're going to make this really big thing and invite people to join. And we realized, no, we needed a Facebook group. We wanted this landing page of community where we could foster conversation. We wanted it to be this longer than one-day event. But I will also say that it's going to help you in your thinking of doing something different, getting people to rally around you, and giving them a chance to support your organization. You know, worst thing we could have done is do nothing, fall silent. And the people that love our mission, that love our organization, that want to be a part of, that look forward to being a part of things, really we just are disregarding them in that way. So we don't want to do that. We wanted to encourage everyone to be a part of something. And even if it looked different, we wanted them to know that, hey, we're here, we're doing something, we care about our mission, and we want you to help us support that mission. I will also say what we learned is, it's kind of a red flag of, what are we going to do this fall, right? We had that the cat's meow. What are we going to do this fall? So it began to let us anticipate, okay, if we can't do what we wanted to do or what we had thought we were going to do, we need to start thinking of what that could be. So without further ado, I will tell you about our fall fundraiser, which we had on September the 19th. So this is just a few weeks away, or a few weeks ago that we had this event. So typically in years past, we've always done the Cat's Meow, a true cocktail party and auction, which we knew we couldn't do. I mean, we weren't going to have the banquet hall with tables and hundreds of people in one room. It's just not, we aren't there yet as a community, and it's definitely not the safest thing to do. So we first had a plan B, which also I'll say, have a plan B, a plan C, a plan D, but plan A turned into plan B, which was, what if we did something like the Cat's Meow, but break it up over several host homes, smaller groups, dinners of 10, auction, maybe do through Zoom. Well, still we're not quite there yet. So after scenario B, we came up with scenario C, which we lovingly call the poop show. And we really just said, you know what, let's stop, teetering around this. It's been a really tough year. In fact, you could say it's been a crappy year. So that's what we went with. But we said, let's do a game of chance, right? So the poop show was born. And so what this really came down to was, let's come up with what we have here plenty of, which are dogs. If you didn't know, SICSA is a pet adoption wellness center. We also have a lot of kitties, but dogs are out in the play yard. So we kind of came up with this concept that was really a nod to the cow patty bingo, if you've ever heard of that. If you're in a more rural area, you may have seen that before, where basically the dog goes out to the play yard, it does its business, and wherever the dog does its business, it corresponds with the chance that was sold, that square foot, and that person wins a grand prize. So it's a game of chance. So that's what we did. We divided one of our dog play yards up into 1,584 1-foot squares. We sold them all as chances. We ended up selling 75% of those total. And we were able to then have that last 25 be written in for it to be, if it lands on that square, it's owned by SICSA, and SICSA would get the donation or get the grand prize if that happened. Which we didn't quite do that. We ended up, I'll explain that here in a second, but that's pretty much the concept of how the event ran. So obviously you have to meet the cast, because with any event, it's funny how 2020, you never would have guessed that the cast of our fundraiser would have been 3 really cute dogs. But Dynamo, Millie, and Kiyoshi, Dynamo was the first on deck, so to speak. He was the first shot at, doing the business. He didn't succeed. He actually did succeed. He landed on a SICSA square. Our CEO said, no, we want someone from the community to win. So he dropped the pot a little bit and went out again. Millie just wanted to play the whole time. And Kiyoshi was the real one. She went out there and she actually did the business on a spot, and someone from the community won $8,000. Here's the crew. So basically this event went off with these 3 pups, our animal care tech team, myself and our marketing team. I hope you like our masks. They are poop emoji masks. We had two announcers, Josh Stuckey and Gabrielle Enright. Josh is the CEO of People and Culture at Square One of our sponsors. So his business was a sponsor of the event. And Gabby is a past board member here at SICSA, but she's a reporter and news anchor here at our local news channel. So they both emceed the event. So we sold the chances, and then we did a live event where they were here announcing, and the dogs went out in the play yard, and we were live broadcasting that. You'll see some pictures here on the right. That's us at the top on dress rehearsal. The bottom picture is Josh and Nora Vondrell, who's our CEO here at SICSA, walking through the event, talking through it as well. You'll see people behind them and some sponsorship signs. They were doing the chance assigning during that time. Timeline for this, we had 8 weeks to turn this event into fruition. So July the 29th was the decision to make it from the in-person auction and dinner to the virtual poop show. On 7/29, we actually began the 2 weeks of figuring out how we were going to do this as far as producing the event, the live event, what was needed. Marketing and selling began on the 12th, and the live event day was the 19th. So here are some of the platforms we used for the poop show. Social Live is a production software that allows you to use pre-recorded segments as well as live segments. And that's the platform here on the left that you're seeing. We also use YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. We also used media. We had live TV spots, billboards, press releases. We used MailChimp for our emailing. Little Green Light is our customer management, our donor software that we use here. And that's where we created the online form to sell the chances. We had to work with legal. We had to get everybody involved with regard to giving away a grand prize and the proper way to go about that. The biggest platform we used, I'll be honest, was event ambassadors. So that's us. That was the SICSA pack. So we were talking through, that's employees, the board of directors, our volunteers. And you'll see a picture here. This is our dry erase board in our break room. And it says the poop show. And it has volunteer team, board of directors, veterinary care clinic, animal care. We had the help center, and then we had the marketing department, and we had an internal competition. So for we had an option on when you go to buy a chance, it said who told you about this or who was your ambassador. So if people from the community, as they bought chances, put someone's name and it corresponded with somebody here at SICSA, we all got our own little square. So this was the internal competition, and it was a big deal. Whoever won the internal competition, department-wise, for every ambassador chance you had a chance to have a name into winning a free day off work, a free PTO day. So it was like a big deal. And I put a quote here because this came directly from an email from Nora Vondrell, our boss. She said, "To everyone who made referrals, in total we sold 1,131 chances. Out of our total chances, which 48% came from referrals. So almost half of them. So our support," she said, "clearly made the difference. Thank you." And that just is a testament of, you can have billboards, you can have social media, you can have ways to communicate, but at the end of the day, you have to have your staff, your team really being champions. And in this case, if you noticed on this picture, the board of directors blew it out of the water. They were the ones who sold the most chances. Here are some examples of social media from that time frame. So we sold chances is about 2.5 weeks between selling chances opening up versus until the day of the live event. So you'll see, like, what does the $50 do? That was how much we had sold each chance for. So of course it says we know somebody wants to win $10,000, but we haven't even more excited, how does your gift help? How does your gift make an impact? So the $50, what it does. We also have a picture here. This is actually was a video. It's a screenshot. And please go to our Facebook page. Find us. It's SICSA Pet Adoption and Wellness Center. You can see all of this content. But you'll see this picture here was a video of Dynamo getting a spa day. So we had this whole road to the poop show and had different videos of us, here's our pooper number one, and here's our backup, and here's, so we had the cast, making them the stars of the event. And there's Dynamo sitting there on the left. But right here in the middle, this is our winner. Her name was Lisa. We also did a bio on her, the story. That's a picture of Kiyoshi, the dog who pooped on her square. And we did a little bio about Kiyoshi and a little history about Kiyoshi. And that was really fun. It was fun to see people's interactions on like, you go, Kiyoshi, great job, you know. So. And here's the results, some stats for you to view. I won't read through all of these, but this kind of gives the breakout of page views on our website, interactions on Facebook, number of emails, clicks, sent versus open versus interacted with, as well as Instagram. So how did it all turn out? We decided we are going to do this event again in 2021, regardless of COVID. The sponsors were elated. In fact, we had so many people interested. All the sponsors remained in this event as well, but we also had people from the community hear about it and think it's the funniest thing in the world. They're like, are you guys seriously doing this? And we said, absolutely. And they said, we want to sponsor it. So we had additional interest from the community to become sponsors. And we actually exceeded our original budget, which was incredible. All the while extremely and drastically decreasing our original expenses. So as you guys know, in fundraising or events, your kind of golden rule is the 75-25, right? Where 75% in revenues, so 75 cents on every dollar goes back to the event versus that 25% in expenses. When we kind of layered it all out or fared it all out, which we're still getting donations, we're at about an 85-15% split, where 85% of every dollar came in as revenues, only 15% as expenses. And we were really thrilled to raise over $80,000 for this event. We learned this time, we decided to do no committee. We had 2 co-chairs of the event. We felt this is something that doesn't really require a lot of staff. As you know, I mean, we had just the announcers, our most immediate marketing. We really couldn't have anybody here at the facility. There were, I think, total of 10 people here on the day of the live event. So we said, what do we really need? And we really needed our board of directors to support and rally and get behind this. And so we actually had 2 co-chairs of the event, which were board of director members, and our team here at SICSA, the marketing team. And the event ambassadors were the ones that we solicited, right? So who do we know that we really think would like rally around this concept and get the word out? So we really focused on our staff, our volunteers, our board of directors, and a few key people that are influencers in our community that are really tied to our brand that really helped us push the word and the message out. So the reduction in cost and doing something different, non-traditional, really is what got the sponsors excited and engaged and saying we have to do this again next year. So at this time, I'm going to open it up to you guys and ask what questions or how can I answer anything that you guys are facing right now in your specific nonprofits or in your businesses.
You guys have some really great questions. Thank you for joining me. I actually brought in the mastermind, the creative mastermind with regard to the production of and creation of the social media content. Samantha Hofler, she's our senior marketing manager. She's over here to my side. We're trying to socially distance, but some of your questions really were revolving around the social life software. So I wanted her to be able to speak into that, but I will go ahead and start answering some of your questions. One of them says, based upon what you learned, will you continue with these varied forms of fundraising after things get back to normal? The answer is yes. So the Lift Your Leg event, and then looking at the poop show, the very different styles of events. But what we realized for sure with the poop show is that regardless if COVID's not a thing, we can certainly still do that event. And so we're actually planning to grow that. So the answer is yes, we will be doing these varied forms of fundraising, even if things get back to normal. And like I said earlier in the presentation, we were financially lucrative when it came to the poop show. So because of that, it allowed us to say, could this possibly replace the cat's meow in the future? Or is this something we could do even in addition to? So I hope that answers your question. If not, keep writing questions my way. The next one we have here is, what would you recommend nonprofits do to replace sponsors who pull out of the event when it changes? So that's a great question. So we really felt this heavily when it came to Lift Your Leg, because that was such a quick turnaround, but we also faced it with the Poop Show as well. So the very first thing I did was I took everybody who's a sponsor of our event that was already committed and created a list of all of their amenities. I immediately went through and said, of these amenities, which ones are not changed? And then of these amenities, which ones are either changed, adjusted, or not relevant? So then I made a second list. And then looking at the event with the new opportunities, I would say, what could we offer them that's supplemental or meets the need of why they originally became a sponsor? So if it was a social media amenity that was irrelevant, I would say, do we have another social media element that correlates, right? That's going to, and really what we found is that a lot of the amenities were amplified because of us going virtual, right? So in for example, Lift Your Leg, it's a physical event. There's 800 people physically there one day. With Lift Your Leg gone virtual, it was 4 weeks. So we were able to do additional content for social media and get additional impressions, more than what they would have gotten. So first, start off by mapping what's the amenities, what doesn't change, what needs to change. And then once you do that and kind of come up with a list of what you could provide as supplemental, I called personally each sponsor and spoke with them on the phone and said, as you know, COVID's happened, we're adjusting, we're pivoting. We really, and I had kind of that personal conversation with each sponsor. And we would talk through that, and I would say, does this work for you? Does that work for you? Some of them had some suggestions. And so that was that conversation that really drilled us down. Then we ended up, all of our sponsors came back for both events, which we're incredibly blessed. And that just goes to show our continued support of what we, try to be good stewards of those funds. But we also identified new opportunities that would allow us additional sponsors. So if you didn't get all your sponsors and you had some holes, look at what new amenities you have to offer, and then specifically go and target organizations that you think would be a good fit for those. You hate to walk into someone's office and say, hey, I have a solution for you. But if you're talking to someone who is looking for a specific market or target, these are things that the online platforms allow you to do really well, kind of pinpointing who you're trying to target. So that would be what I would suggest with regard to what do you do to replace sponsors who pull out from the event. We also had, you want to do all of that, by the way, before you start publicizing and promoting the event. So it's incredibly important to have the conversations with your sponsors before you start marketing what you're doing different. It's really not good taste to call a sponsor and say, hey, you might have seen on Facebook, we're doing the Poop Show. Can we have your support? So you want to be mindful of having those conversations prior to promoting. But once you promote, you probably will get more people interested, which is what we found as well. All right, next question. Let's see. Your creativity was awesome. I'm throwing that one to Sam. That's for you, Sam. Great job. Was it fueled by staff or our board? And what did the board play as a role in all of this? So the Lift Your Leg really was Samantha and I working virtually. I was also 7 months pregnant. I actually had a baby on July 5th. So I came back from maternity leave quickly to work on Poop Show with the team. But the Lift Your Leg was really Samantha and I from home working on computers and Zoom calls. And the board really wasn't involved. We had a committee, but that was a really hard shift. That was a very set in stone, as I talked about, committee that had to kind of come over the hump. And that took a little bit of time and effort. We knew that there was a limitation for Lift Your Leg. And so going into the Poop Show, we said, we can't have 15 people making decisions, right, when we have an event that needs to take place in 5 weeks. So what we did was we pulled 2 board members. I think this question kind of gets answered, I think, with the Poop Show, because we did recognize the board of directors. And so we had 2 co-chairs from the board of directors, and they really rallied. And they're also sponsors. Let me clarify to say, most of our board members are sponsors of our events and our programming at SICSA. And so when the board members say, you have our support, you guys are running, let's roll with this, that really helps with your sponsorships. So I hope that answers that question. If not, keep them coming my way. If you could do it over, is there anything we would do differently? Which event, I guess, would be where I'd start. Lift your leg. I would say if we would have known that Facebook group versus the Facebook event would have been the way to go and had a little bit more time there, that would have been helpful. Is there anything that you think of too? More time, if you could do anything differently, could you have more time, right? Sam, God bless her, she's over here like on social live, doing trainings the week of the poop show, so it was kind of would we do anything differently? I would say we would expand our internet. We had some issues with getting Wi-Fi out to the yard. So thinking about your environment, if your event takes you any place in your space that normally you don't utilize your hotspots, be mindful of that. Virtual glitches, we've all had them with this day and age. But I'd also say we do something differently we talked about like the chances, marketing certain avenues, there are certain media outlets, especially with television, that you can target zip codes. You could, target certain populations. So be a little bit maybe more intentional now that we have data, probably too, would be a good thing. And a question here regarding social live. Is it easy to use and would we recommend it? I would say yes. And I'm going to turn the camera over to Sam so she can.
Well, you don't fade into.
It's okay if you fade in. Sam is here, folks. She is here.
Floating. I found Social Life really easy and user friendly. We purchased it with.
You can take your mask off. I'll put mine on.
With about a week and a half prior to the poop show happening. When you purchase it, you get assigned a customer service manager, and that rep basically provides you with 3 trainings. The first 2 trainings, you dive into how to use it, what the functions are, and then the 3rd training is like a trial, basically. And then also the rep that we had, although he did not work on Saturdays, he did make himself available during the event. And he was chatting along with me. So like when we had some internet issues, he was chatting. He's like, I'm losing you. So he provided some real-time support as well. But I definitely found it very easy to use, especially amidst everything going on, producing all these commercials and pre-recorded videos and learning the software within basically a week to a week and a half. I would definitely recommend it.
We're swapping masks over here. All right, next question. I love the internal competition. What were the prizes for the board and the volunteers? I only heard of PTO day. It's a great question. The board of directors, I don't want to say, we did do like gift pack prizes. So there was I didn't talk about it in the presentation, but we did what we call it a paw pack, VIP paw pack, PAW pack. And it was a gift bag full of so at the traditional Cat's Meow, we would do like, a gift bag that would have sponsorship information and things in there. We had certain key sponsors that gave items of value that we put into a gift, like a reusable shopping tote that said SICSA 2020, it's been a poop show kind of thing. It was kind of a fun tote and so we mailed those or dropped those off to the first 100 people who purchased 4 or more chances. And I think Bob Reynolds, I don't know if Bob Reynolds, he's on here, I know, with Brady Ware. I know there were several folks from Brady Ware that had heard what we were doing and staff members who've purchased tickets or chances, which was great. We appreciate that support. But we also had extra VIP paw packs for the board of directors, individual winners, volunteers, people that didn't have a PTO day, available to be used. So that's what we did there. Even after COVID-19 improves and social distancing decreases, do you see yourselves going back to in-person events or sticking with somewhat virtual events that we've created, as in-person events are usually more costly and expensive and timely? 100% yes to all of that. We are planning, and I say it improves, right? People say when it gets back to normal, I'm like, I don't know if we're going to get back to normal, maybe ever, and maybe we shouldn't, right? I guess that's really where we want to push the conversation forward to say, what is relevant. At one point in time, the cocktail dinner auction gala was cutting edge, and we've kind of stayed there. It's been a safe space, but people want something different, and so I think for sure our cost. We ended up right at about 85-15 on revenues versus expense for the poop show. And that 15% largely was the Social Live software. Now that license that we've paid for Social Live is it's an annual software renewal. So that allows us, oh, hey, that's the next question too, is how much did we invest in our technology? So Social Live it's $500 a month, and it's annual. So you have to pay the $6,000 total, but you can pay it over month by month. In our case, we are allocating it to different events throughout our year and programs that are having to shift to more virtual. And I know Sam talked about the reasons why we went that route versus Zoom, because it allows us to do pre-recorded and live. So we did commercials, for the poop show that were sponsor commercials. So we were able to pre-produce those. We have that capacity here in-house. So we wanted to utilize that. We also see that being something we can do for other events, other programs. We have a humane education program that we've had to put on hold with all of what's going on. So that allows us to maybe perhaps do some pre-recorded video content that we can get to the schools and our community members. And so we kind of took that big dollar amount and said, that's a lot of money, but if we can space it out for 2021, it made it more affordable. And to be honest, it's pretty much our marketing budget, like for next year, as far as software is concerned, because our budget and our programs have had to shift. So look at your budget. You might immediately think you can't afford something, but what has been removed or what's no longer relevant? And we found that we needed something to be able to do this.
And as far as other technology, like you said, we have the software to edit video because we have the Adobe Creative Suite. So I used the video editing software, but other than that, I took all video on my iPhone. So you can easily do it with things that you already have. So kind of look around and see like what you can use to produce, all these videos. Just a tripod, a phone, and a microphone that we already had. So
right. And if you email us, we can send you what specific microphones or what we used as far as software. If you email me at the end, I'm happy to connect us to Sam and help you out there too. I will tell you that we kind of promised commercials, or we wanted it to be more like a TV show, which is why we wanted to use. So you don't have to have a Social Live if you're not utilizing pre-recorded content. But we wanted to use it in other capacities too, which is why we decided to do that. We could have done it with Zoom or a free platform. So you don't have to spend a lot of money to be able to move these things over. So was it necessary to invest in the training for your volunteers and board members on how to use various social media platforms to position them as ambassadors? You don't even believe how much time that took. To be honest, with the Lift Your Leg is where we really felt that the most, was because we were asking committee members to become social network ambassadors versus physically being at an event and moving tables or setting up the actual event. So I had to create, here's how to do this. And Sam would say, here's how to upload content. We had them email it to a specific account. We created a Google Drive. We had to create all of those trainings, we'll say, but more like step-by-step instructions. We also gave them examples of language to post. We wanted it to be consistent with our brand. So yes, we had to do that. As far as, and it wasn't dollars, it was time, right? Investing in the training for them. And that was, like I said, more around the Lift Your Leg event versus the poop show, because the poop show, our volunteers really we didn't have a volunteer team. It was just the two board members, myself, Samantha, Caitlin, who's our marketing manager, and Nora Vondrell, our CEO. So we were a team of 6, and we're all fairly tech savvy. So we just sort of said, hey, let's set up these forums, let's get it out and publicize it and sell these chances to the greater community. And last question here, did you face any challenges on your board with members that don't embrace or use social media? I think yes, but I hate to say, like, what other options do we have right now? And so we were able to say, if you don't, if you're not really tech savvy, you can still call people and tell them about the poop show, or email them the link, right? Or email them the Facebook event, or so yes and no. I mean, we've had some people who weren't very tech savvy that would take pictures of themselves, like on the Lift Your Leg event, and email them to Samantha, and then Sam would put them on and write comments and tag and hash, do all of the connecting things. So if you have people that aren't so tech savvy, it's okay to say, hey, we need you to be involved. We want you to be involved. Let us help you be involved. And that's how we would do that, is ask other ways. Or we had flyers, too. So can you post this on a work board, or can you hand this to somebody? Any other questions? I'm making sure I'm not missing anybody's other questions. I appreciate so very much the opportunity to share with you what we're doing at SICSA. We are, like I said, anticipating the poop show again next year. We're actually going to grow it next year. I think there might be one more. Oh, thank you, Beth. She just says, awesome. I'm like, I see 11 popped up. But we are happy to answer questions for you. We're located here in Dayton, Ohio. If anybody's close and they want to come out and visit us, we'd love to have you. Just again, thank you so much. I hope that this gives you hope and encouragement to just be creative, try something different, and really just choose to not say no. The nice thing is if you're a creative person, this probably is your time to shine, because how many times have we tried to convince or try to tell people, let's just try to do something different, and met with opposition, where now it's like, we have to do something different. Let's just try it, right? So I'm hoping that we view this time, especially in nonprofit fundraising, as a chance to really try something new and maybe get rid of something old, for brighter, new, and more creative, fun fundraisers moving forward.